Hello and welcome to Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We're your hosts. I'm Kevin.
And I'm Sean.
And we're glad you're here. For the next 15 minutes, we'll talk about a sales issue, big and small, for salespeople, sales leaders, and selling situations. We're glad you're here, and let's get started.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Sean. January is flying by.
Tell me about it. Yeah. And, and it's been a weird year already. We went from incredibly cold weather at the end of December, at least in Cincinnati, Ohio, where you and I are both at, where it was, well below zero. And then there was days soon after that where, you literally could walk outside in shirt sleeves. So it's just been a weird year already. So hopefully it's not been weird for our customers as they start to get new customers themselves. They start to build on their leads and develop their sales teams.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to talk about looking forward and further down the pipeline here, the time pipeline. You and I, we've been sales leaders. We've done a lot in leadership, managing people, behaviors, our entire career. But one thing that you and I had a breakthrough moment on was the idea that, hey, we don't always have to correct and coach problems, right? We can often use coaching and development as a way to help people be more successful in a current year rather than correcting behavior after it's happened. So thinking about planning as a focus planning one-to-one this month could be really valuable for you hitting a Q1, exceeding your Q1 quota, not being in a deficit.
Totally agree. In fact, as we were talking about this subject, I wanted to think a little bit about how do I make analogies to other industries, and salespeople, sales managers are really bad about always talking about sports and putting sports analogies into their sales training, but I'm going to do it as well. So it's interesting when you talk to a top professional, they are always being coached. And these are people that, they are the best that there is. They are playing at the top of their game. They're in the peak physical condition, and they still get coached on a regular basis on how to be better. So it's not a terrible thing to say sales leaders, CEOs, VPs of sales, directors of sales that are at our clients should be spending time coaching their team and making their team better. And everybody needs that coaching. It might be your best salesperson, the one that's always making the number every year, but it also, and this kind of is obvious, but the person that is struggling the most and the person that everybody's kind of thinking, is this the right guy to have on the team? Is he the right person in the bus to get us to where we want to be? Let's spend time coaching as opposed to putting them on plan and all these other bad things that have negative connotations. Let's start coaching that person to make them better.
Agreed. Let's talk about tactics, right? So when you have resolved to get better at your craft, right? You as a sales leader have you have said, I'm going to coach my people better. I'm going to invest in myself to coach them better. Let's talk about what that might look like to give somebody what can I do today with my skills and my tools? So we are probably all familiar with having some sort of annual review or customer quarterly business review, a QBR of some description. You can use that same format to help people from a internal coaching and development. So for example, QBRs are talking about what's happened, what have we done, what went well, what needs some work. We can flip that and just change the tense on that. Hey, what would we like to go well? What would we like to work on? What would we like to sell? And using that as a framework for working with our teams internally. If you're a sales leader, if you're a power of one and you don't have a team reporting to you, or you report directly to the CEO and you are kind of the person that is the sales department, you can use that and say introspectively, hey, what do I want to work on? I was meeting with a business coach the other day. I tend to network with people that are also fractionals like us. So he's an EOS business coach, and he said something that really stuck with me. He said, where am I investing in my skills to become a better leader. And I'm thinking, well, this guy's a business coach. He's a holistic kind of, he has a holistic job on a business, and he's investing in himself to get better as a leader of leaders, right? So I'm thinking, okay, this idea has some meat on the bone. This is a good topic to talk about, how do people get better at their craft.
I am a firm believer in continuous learning or lifelong learning. I suggest that everybody is not an expert on anything, that you are only in the process of trying to become an expert. And the day you're done is the day that you die, right? So I think it was Earl Nightingale, who was this big speaker from a long, long time ago on when radio was big. He said something to the effect of, and I'm going to screw up the quote. I've actually used it in some of my presentations, but I'm going to screw it up here. He said 1 hour a day for, I think it was 3 years, maybe it was 5 years, 1 hour a day of study on your field will make you one of the best in the world at what you do. And I firmly believe that, but I also believe that I compete with the best in the world. And so I can't just stop there, because I figure they're going to be doing it as well. So it's a race to the end, right? So, but spending time understanding your craft. And so if you're a solo VP, right, if you are the only revenue winner in the company, then you need to be self-motivated to make that happen. Or maybe your CEO, your owner can help you be motivated in that area. But if you have a team, now what are you doing to make them smarter? Do they actually understand why some things work and some things don't? Do they understand the rationale behind it, how to get better? And more than anything, do they have a plan of where do they want to take that account? Where do they want to take that group of customers? And far as we're going to sell them this, we're going to have this conversation with them, we're going to talk to them about this, we're going to educate them on this technology, whatever the case may be. But is there a plan in place? And are you being proactive and actually working that? Which is great for that QBR in reverse. Like, stop talking about what we did. That's over. What are we going to do next?
Absolutely. What's new, what's now, and what's next? Those are the three pillars that you can run any meeting off of. So with a focus on planning and doing this as a one-to-one, we should probably call out that you could do this as a group, kind of like a strategic planning format. But what I think Sean and I are really doing now is we're really honing down our discussion and focus here to what does a sales leader do individually with their team members, so that we're meeting where they are. Right? A large part of what we do with our clients is meet them where they are and take them to a new place. Right? It's no different than a salesperson. If I'm coaching a salesperson, I typically start with looking at their network. Are they known enough to generate prospects and leads? I look at their skills. Do they have the skills set tactically to close deals, to move a prospect through a defined sales process? Then we look at their metrics. What are the metrics that we're going to use to measure their trajectory as well as their execution? Right. So if you're a leader and you're thinking about these things, I hope you're thinking about that. What are the metrics we're using to gauge different stages of their cycle, and how do we as leaders help them achieve those goals?
Yeah, I think if I sum up everything you just said, I take it as leaders are responsible for making your team better. Right. So a lot of people have said, so I'm not going to put a famous person on this quote, but a lot of people have said something to the effect of, I am great because I hire people that are greater than me or smarter than me, or whatever the spin is on that conversation. And I think that is a really important thing that sales leaders, owners of companies, if you're directly managing your sales team, that they need to understand is you need to empower and make your team be better, your sales team be better at their daily jobs, and then they will make the corporation better. They'll bring in more revenue. It'll all be a wonderful situation. But I really think it's important that you try to figure out, what is this person doing right? What is this person not doing as well? And now let's work on that so that they can get better, so that they can be the best. And I don't think there's any great salesperson that's ever said that I am the best salesperson in the world. I take that back. I think I read a book. He said he was the best salesperson in the world, long, long time ago. But don't ever assume that you are the best. Don't ever assume that you are fantastic. Instead, assume that you're good enough today and you're not going to be good enough tomorrow. And how do you get better tomorrow than you are today. And I say this since we're close to the beginning of the year, so I don't say as much on a daily basis, but I sincerely do say that I hope 2023 is better than 2022. And that's a continuous improvement kind of thought process of, I don't know what last year was for you. I don't know what yesterday was for you. But I do know that if you put the right effort into it, if you think about it and you work on your skills, tomorrow will be better than today. And that's kind of the goal of the whole situation.
Agreed. So we've talked about what we can do to help our team grow. Now, let's also partner on. So last week we talked about marketing alignment. So there's a questioning strategy we can also use with our teams. Hey, what we're seeing out the windshield here, and we're looking, what you're doing and where we're going. But let's also make sure that we as leaders are also approaching this with listening ears, right? There's a component to leadership that is listening as much as there is coaching. So in these focus meetings and these planning meetings, make sure you're asking your team, hey, what are you missing? What could do better? What could help this deal go faster? What assets, tools, skills, resources do you need to help with your job, to be more effective in your job? So that would be a key miss if you don't ask that as a leader.
I agree. However, I like to steal a line from Tom Hanks in a really good movie, League of Their Own. And I twist the line a little bit, and I simply say, there's no crying in sales. So I think Tom said something like, there's no crying in baseball or something like that, and he yelled at the top of his voice. So I usually don't yell it. But I do say that, yes, there's more things you need. There's better leads that you need. Marketing needs to do better. Our website needs to be better. I wish I had better content. Stop making excuses. And what are you going to do, Mr. Salesperson or Miss Salesperson, to overcome these problems and be successful yourself over and above all the deficiencies that we just don't have enough money in the company to fix, because we need you to be successful. And we don't have enough money to change the website. We don't have enough money to create new marketing collateral. We don't have enough money to go to every show that is possible. So what are you going to personally do to be successful? So I love the question, what do you need? But I always want us to come back with, now what are you going to do to solve the problem? And how are you going to get ahead of that situation?
Interesting. So I typically say, what else? That else is that key. It says not what's broken or what do you want to change, but what else do you need? What is too often, I think we did a survey of like 3,000 companies last year where we said, hey, for your sales team, when was the last time you got trained? Like, training is a really wide gap, a chasm of sorts that sales people and sales leaders often don't have access to, right? Because there's not enough money, time, or geopolitical events that are limiting us from having some sort of training. So it does become incumbent upon us as growing leaders and professionals to seek out that training on our own. I think I'll tell you what, I'll drop in the comments what I'm reading now and what I plan to read this quarter as a follow-up to this broadcast. I'd challenge all of our listeners to also drop in the comments what they're listening to and reading and doing audiobooks or whatever, however you're consuming content. Drop that in the comments as well.
That would be a fun thread to have in our comments, actually. What are your favorite sales books? What are your favorite sales blogs? What are your favorite sales leaders that you listen to, podcasts, whatever? Hopefully somebody says us along the way, but if that's okay, if they say something else. So this has been really good. I appreciate that. Any final thoughts, or should we wrap up?
I think we should wrap up, but the one thing that I always come back to is that we are our greatest limitation. So anything we can do internally, personally, professionally to get better, that's what we should be focused on, right? Focus on the now, because only you can change the outcome of your own personal trajectory.
Yeah, and one of those books that I would probably mention, I'm going to screw up the name without looking it up, but you literally are your own CEO. So incorporate yourself, be your own leader, be your own self-motivator. But then if you're in charge of a team, your job is to make them better, right? So let's make sure that we're helping them out. Thank you very much, Kevin. I appreciate this. This was fun.
Great to see you, Sean.
Thank you very much for attending this session on Two Tall Guys Talking Sales. We hope that we have been able to impart some wisdom, give you some guidance, give you some ideas to think about. If you do have other questions that you would like to ask, do us a favor, drop a note down in the comments, and so we can pick it up and we'll talk about it in a future episode. Thank you very much. Happy selling.